Staying friends with your ex is worryingly popular nowadays. A lot of people say there's nothing wrong with it, and on the surface it sounds reasonable. So why is it then that things always end up getting messy? Why will at least one of you end up getting hurt even more? And why is it a red flag when you're dating someone new and they say to you that they're still talking to their ex? I'll tell you why. Because being friends with your ex is a terrible idea. For the person who's been dumped, they continuously torture themselves every time they see and talk to you, knowing that they can no longer have what their heart truly wants. And for the person who did the dumping, they get to feel less guilty by keeping you around as a friend while still being free to pursue other options. So what part of this friendship sounds healthy or mature to you? Because I sure as hell don't see it. And in this video, I'm going to break down why being friends with your ex is a terrible idea. Here's the truth. If you really loved your ex, and if your relationship with them was meaningful, then you can't immediately transition to being friends. It's just not how emotions work. There's no such thing as a real, genuine friendship where you still have romantic feelings and want to be with that person. It's bad enough being friends with someone you're attracted to, but with someone who you've been with and you've been intimate with on the deepest level? Come on. There's plenty of people out there who you can be friends with, but your ex is not one of them. Yet people nowadays will still argue for being friends with their ex and choose to do so, when usually the reason is selfishness. It's easier for the person who's broken up with you because they don't want you anymore, so it's no skin off their back to just simply be friends. It's convenient for them to alleviate some of the guilt of dumping you, while still not having to date you. But if you are the one who is broken up with and they immediately say, let's just be friends, then it's not like you can just flip a switch in your heart and turn off all of your romantic feelings for them. And so staying friends in this case is more to avoid the pain and grief of moving on. Better to have some type of relationship with your ex than nothing at all. When in reality, of course, you're probably hoping that they'll change their mind and take you back if you stay friends long enough. Let's be real though. If this person did dump you, then they have no right to demand your friendship straight away. If they really do care about you, then they'll understand your feelings and they will know that it's best for you to have some distance right now. It is valid for them to not want to cut you off completely, but they should also be mature enough to know that you will suffer if you don't take a step back. And anyone who does pressure you to try and stay friends with them after dumping you, and they claim that it's the mature thing to do, they are just selfish, and you don't owe them anything. Don't let someone make you feel bad for having basic boundaries and self-respect. Don't downgrade to a friendship just because they want it. But still, I do know that it's easy to try and justify yourself and make excuses for staying friends, especially in that little period after you've broken up where you're feeling vulnerable and emotional. You'll tell yourself anything to justify staying in their life. I remember when my ex broke up with me a few years ago, I told myself the usual excuses, that our connection was too genuine to be completely cut off, that it would be cruel to cut ties even though I was the one who was dumped, and overall, I just thought that it was the right thing to do. Now the reality, of course, was that I was just too weak. Too weak to face my pain, and too weak to accept that this girl has dumped me and I need to move on. And so under the guise of being mature or civil or whatever you want to call it, I would hang on to this so-called friendship. I would let her use me and date me when she was bored on and off for years, until she did something so painful that I had no choice but to cut her off. And that is something I could have avoided long ago if I just refused to stay friends. And so staying friends initially might give you some temporary comfort, but I promise you that it will only hurt you more than a clean break would. Now I'm going to explain more why that is. While people try to convince themselves that this friendship is harmless, it's usually the exact opposite. You're stuck in this grey zone where you're too close to them to fully move on, yet you're also too distant to go back to what you had. And this dynamic harms you a lot more than it benefits you. For the person who was dumped, staying friends with them feels like trying to win back little scraps of their love and attention, even if they don't realize it. They're holding on to the hope, however faint it is, that this person will somehow get back with them. And for the person who ended the relationship, staying friends is a convenient way to avoid being seen as the bad guy whilst also benefiting off of your emotional support. I also want to talk about something that most people don't want to think about, and that is breadcrumbing. And breadcrumbing is when the person who breaks up with you keeps you around for emotional attention whilst also pursuing other options. They might send you a meme every now and then or reply to your text occasionally just to check up on you. Not out of a real friendship, by the way, but just to see that you're still emotionally available as a backup plan. They may not want you anymore, but they do want you there as a safety net if other options fall through. This is just cruel because it leaves you in a state of constant hope and confusion, making it nearly impossible for you to move on. Whilst they're out there pursuing other relationships guilt-free, you're stuck in this limbo that benefits them and tears you apart. It should go without saying, but that is not a real friendship. It's just self-serving behavior, and it's yet another reason why you should not be friends with your ex. Staying friends with your ex hurts your future relationships too, which is why it's seen as a red flag. Imagine how your future partner will feel knowing that you're still sharing inside jokes with your ex, reminiscing with them, and are clearly still attached to them. It's not fair for them or you. This is why people who have some basic boundaries in place will always see someone who's talking to their ex as a red flag. Now, staying friends also blurs boundaries in ways that almost always lead to resentment. Stay friends with your ex long enough and one day, maybe sooner than you realize, they will start dating someone new. And you will be forced to watch them give them the love that once used to be yours to this new person. And if you think that won't hurt and you will simply be happy for them, then you're just lying to yourself. While it's okay to want what's best for your ex, genuinely, especially if you care about them still, why would you force yourself to witness it up close? Like, why would you put yourself through that pain? So if you are someone who's friends with your ex, or maybe you're considering it, or you don't think anything's wrong with it, just because many other people do it, then ask yourself if it would lead to your true happiness, or if you're just doing it out of the fear of not being able to move on. Don't let your ex's comfort or their demands come in the way of your healing and peace of mind. Don't let what society has told you about staying friends with them actually influence you into being friends with them, because I can guarantee you that it's not going to end well. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you learned something from it, then be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one.